This is the Hoff Time Report with Idaho Freedom Foundation President Wayne Hoffman, one of Idaho's most respected, influential public policy voices.
Welcome to another episode of the Hoff Time Report. As the voice told you, I am Wayne Hoffman, president of the Idaho Freedom Foundation, Idaho's leading public policy think tank. I'm coming to you from the Hoff Building in beautiful downtown Boise, and we have an incredible episode for you today. In this episode, we'll discuss how we can, and I mean this sincerely, save our country from the scourge of social justice, socialism, and Marxism. But first, let's talk about that private censorship that's taking place on several social media platforms. Companies like Facebook and Twitter are targeting us. They're shutting down conservative accounts under the guise of community safety. But that's not what's happening. These tech overlords have decided that some viewpoints are simply intolerable and should never be heard, namely views held largely by conservatives like you and me. So, to protect against this growing threat, IFF has launched a text group that's in our control and censorship-proof. To join, all you have to do is text INDEX, that's INDEX, to 208-514-4480. Again, 208-514-4480. Text the word INDEX. Now, let's talk about today's topic. Joe Biden has disbanded the 1776 Commission that President Trump created last year. Its work has stopped, but it cannot stop. The president created the commission because our country is in mortal danger. Activists have infiltrated successfully our government-run education system and have been using it as a vehicle to indoctrinate young people into hating America. Now that might sound like a lot, but it is a fact. I challenge you to ask anyone younger than, say, 35 about our country's history, its founding documents, its first principles. From the youngest school children to the adult collegian, most have been taught that America is born of and built on racism, that capitalism is an extension of intolerance. Graduates of our education institutions are unable to tell you anything about the founding fathers, but they can tell you everything about the Kardashians. The indoctrination is so complete, there is no small number that believes looting and vandalizing is perfectly normal, that certain people should be scrubbed from history, that conservative voices should be silenced, as I mentioned before, that cops are bad, that giving preferential treatment to some, discriminating against others based on race, gender, and sexual orientation is righteous in the pursuit of a potent and destructive brand of social justice. Said differently, our country's divisions are easy to understand. You have one group of Americans who understand that our country's origins and values are based on something that's called liberty and freedom, and we need a free society underpinned by limited government. And then you have this other group whose historical points of reference are Hollywood fictionalizations and fabrications from the legacy news media, who of course believe that government is their God. Biden shuttered the 1776 Commission because the truth is government cannot control people who know the truth. As noted in the Commission's report, which has now been erased from the White House's website, and I hope you'll take a look at it, no honest, intelligent surveyor of human history could deny the unique brilliance of Homer or Plato, Dante or Shakespeare, Washington or Lincoln, Melville or Hawthorne. But far too little of this guidance is given in American classrooms today. In most K-12 social studies and civics classes, serious study of the principles of equality and liberty has vanished. The result has been a rising generation of young citizens who know little about the origins and stories of their country, and less about the true standards of equality and liberty. This trend is neither new nor unreported, but is leaving a terrible and growing void as students suffer from both ignorance of not realizing what they lack and a certain arrogance that they have no need to find out. Idaho policymakers should not consider themselves powerless to the situation. Yes, Marxism is being taught in Idaho. The left's misuse of our own K-12 and higher education campuses can be halted, and it must be. Idaho lawmakers, the governor, the State Board of Education, the superintendent of public instruction, every school board, and every parent needs to awaken to the reality of the situation to continue to use and build on the work of the 1776 Commission to save Idaho and the rest of the nation has to occur. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to rate and review this podcast and subscribe to your favorite platform so you'll never miss an episode, and we'll talk again soon. And now it's time once again for our Statist of the Week. And in case you missed last week's episode, this is where we honor or really poke fun at an individual or organization for their outstanding contribution to statism, the unwavering opinion that government is great and has all the answers. Last week, we mocked the editorial board of the Idaho Statesman. That's because they recognize the need to make sure that only experts serve on government boards dealing with health policy. Way to go, Idaho Statesman, you rock! But now, the good news for you is one of your own is this week's Statist of the Week. How about that? Your regular columnist, Bob Kustra, is this week's winner. Bob wrote that Congressman Russ Fulcher should resign from the U.S. House of Representatives. Kustra wrote that Fulcher's multiple actions encouraging and inciting those who ransacked the Capitol and caused death and destruction disqualify him from serving in Congress. Wow, that's crazy. That's also absolute hogwash. Since when is representing a public policy position tantamount to inciting violence? The answer is it's not. But it is if you're a statist who believes independent thought is the same as participating in an insurrection. These are the same people who claim inaccurately that President Trump incited violence at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. What actually happened was the president gave a speech. During the speech, the president said the crowd should peacefully, that's important because the news media has been leaving that word out. The president said peacefully, the crowd should go peacefully to the Capitol. Now, after the president gave his speech, not a single person in the crowd or in the Capitol or on the planet said, oh my gosh, the President of the United States has ordered the crowd to go to the Capitol and attack Congress. Nobody said that. So for Kustra to pretend otherwise and try to tie Russ Fulcher to violence is foolish and it is stupid. But the fact that Kustra says Fulcher is not qualified to hold office because he voted not to certify the electoral votes, why that's just statist. In our system of government, people get to hold competing views. They don't lose their jobs because they vote the way you don't like, because that is silly and it's dangerous. And that's why, Bob Kustra, you're this week's winner. You're the Statist of the Week. Now, who's going to be next week's winner? You'll have to tune in to find out, but I hope you'll also email me, wayne@idahofreedom.org, and tell me who you think should be the Statist of the Week. Until next time, we'll see you later.
.org for Wayne's articles, IFF research, and show notes from today's episode.